Captain pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's viewport, watching the stars streak past as the UES Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace. The familiar blue-white glow of faster-than-light travel faded, replaced by the cold pinpricks of distant suns against the infinite black of space. After 18 months of deep space exploration, her crew had grown accustomed to the routine of emergence, but today felt different. Today, their long-range sensors had detected something unprecedented. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander James Park from the science station, his voice carrying an edge of excitement that hadn't heard in weeks. "You need to see this. The energy readings we detected from hyperspace weren't equipment malfunctions." Pushed off from the viewport and glided across the bridge in the low artificial gravity. The Endeavour was one of humanity's deep space exploration vessels, equipped with the most advanced scanning equipment their young civilization could produce. They had been mapping the outer rim of the galaxy for over a year, star systems, and searching for signs of life beyond Earth's solar system. "What do you have, James?" asked, settling into the captain's chair and activating her personal display screen. "Multiple artificial structures, Captain. Massive ones. I'm reading at least 7 distinct energy signatures, each one consistent with advanced civilization technology. The power output alone suggests populations in the millions, possibly billions." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Felt her heart rate quicken. First contact protocols had been drilled into every member of her crew, but actually encountering alien civilizations was something entirely different from simulation training. "Distance: 0.7 light-years, Captain. Well within our scanner range, but we'll need to get closer for detailed analysis." Nodded, her mind racing through the implications. Humanity had been alone in the galaxy as far as they knew. Despite decades of searching and listening, they had found no evidence of intelligent life beyond their own world. The discovery of not one, but apparently 7 different civilizations in a single system was staggering. "Set course for the system. Standard approach protocols. I want passive scans only until we know what we're dealing with." The Endeavour adjusted course, its fusion drives pushing the ship toward the distant star system. As they drew closer over the following hours, the sensor readings became increasingly detailed and increasingly puzzling. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah called from the communications station, "I'm detecting multiple signals in the system, but they're not directed outward. All the transmissions appear to be internal to each civilization. There's no evidence of interspecies communication." "That's odd," murmured. 7 advanced civilizations in the same system, and they're not talking to each other. Doctor, the ship's and cultural specialist, looked up from his analysis station. "It gets stranger, Captain. The energy signatures suggest these civilizations have been established for centuries, possibly. The power output and infrastructure development indicate mature societies with significant populations." Studied the incoming data streams on her display. The 7 energy signatures were distributed across 4 different planets and 3 large space habitats. Each showed clear signs of advanced technology, but Doctor was right about the lack of interaction. Despite sharing the same star system, the civilizations appeared to be completely isolated from one another. "Could this be some form of quarantine?" she asked. "Perhaps they're avoiding contact for cultural or biological reasons." "Possible," Doctor replied, "but the energy patterns suggest normal civilian activity. Manufacturing, transportation, communication networks. These don't look like civilizations under quarantine. They look like civilizations that simply don't know the others exist." As the Endeavour entered the outer edge of the star system, the full scope of what they had discovered began to unfold. The central star was a stable yellow dwarf, similar to Earth's sun. 4 terrestrial planets orbited in the habitable zone, each one teeming with artificial structures and energy signatures. The 3 space habitats were massive rotating cylinders, each large enough to house millions of beings. "Captain," James called out, his voice now tinged with confusion, "I'm detecting something else. Long-range communication arrays throughout the system, but they're all pointed inward. Not one of these civilizations is transmitting beyond their local space." Frowned, advanced civilizations typically broadcast their presence, whether intentionally or accidentally. Radio waves, subspace signals, energy leakage from their technology. The fact that none of these 7 societies were detectable beyond the system suggested either incredibly sophisticated signal containment or complete isolation from galactic civilization. Are we dealing with some form of natural phenomenon that's keeping them isolated? She asked. Doctor shook his head. No natural phenomenon would explain this pattern. The isolation appears to be technological or political in nature. Made a decision. Take us to the edge of the system, full passive scans of all 7 civilizations. I want to understand what we're looking at before we make any contact decisions. Over the next 12 hours, the Endeavor conducted detailed surveillance of the mysterious system. What they discovered challenged everything humanity understood about galactic civilization. The first planet housed a species the crew designated as based on their apparent aquatic nature. Massive underwater cities dotted their ocean world, connected by what appeared to be sophisticated transportation networks. Their technology seemed focused on biotechnology and environmental harmony. The second planet was home to the crystalline, a silicon-based species that had grown enormous crystal structures across their world's surface. Their cities were living architecture, grown rather than built, reaching toward the sky in impossible spiraling towers that caught and refracted the system's sunlight. The third planet hosted the nomads, a species that appeared to live entirely in mobile cities that roamed across vast desert landscapes. Their technology emphasized mobility and adaptation, with structures that could be assembled and disassembled rapidly as their settlements moved. The fourth planet was occupied by the architects, a species that had transformed their entire world into a single massive construction project. Every square kilometer was covered in interconnected buildings, bridges, and transportation networks, creating a planet-spanning city of breathtaking complexity. The 3 space habitats housed 3 different species as well. The first habitat was home to the gardeners, beings who had created vast agricultural spaces in zero gravity, growing food and maintaining ecosystems within rotating drums. The second habitat housed the metallics, a species that appeared to be partially or entirely mechanical, living in structured environments of gleaming metal and advanced manufacturing. The third habitat was occupied by the ethereals, energy-based beings who lived in environments of controlled plasma and electromagnetic fields. Each civilization was remarkable in its own right. Each showed clear signs of advanced science, art, philosophy, and culture. Each had populations numbering in the hundreds of millions, and each was completely unaware of the other's existence. Captain, Doctor said after completing his initial analysis, this is unprecedented. 7 advanced civilizations, each one isolated and apparently content to remain so. In all our theoretical models of galactic development, we never predicted anything like this. Stood and walked to the main, where the star system spread out before them like a 3-dimensional map of impossibility. Could they have chosen isolation? Maybe they're aware of each other but decided to remain separate for philosophical reasons. The communication patterns don't support that theory, Sarah reported. I've been monitoring their transmissions for hours. Each species appears to believe they're alone in the universe. Their cultural broadcasts include philosophy and speculation about the possibility of other life, but no indication they know about their neighbors. So what's keeping them apart? Asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ensign Robert, the junior science officer, had been analyzing the system's background radiation and energy fields. Captain, I think I found something. There are artificial energy barriers between each civilization's territory. Extremely subtle, but they're there. They appear to be dampening field technology, designed to prevent detection between the different species. Turned to face him. Dampening fields? You mean someone or something is deliberately keeping these civilizations separate? That's what the data suggests. The fields are incredibly sophisticated, designed to absorb and redirect electromagnetic radiation, subspace signals, even gravitational disturbances. Each civilization is essentially living in an invisible cage. The implications hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. Someone with technology far beyond any of the 7 civilizations had imprisoned them in isolation, letting them develop and grow while keeping them unaware of each other's existence. Who would do such a thing? Lieutenant asked. And why? Doctor pulled up star charts on the main display. Captain, we need to consider the possibility that these aren't the only isolated civilizations. If someone has the technology to create this kind of containment system, they could have done it elsewhere. Felt a chill run down her spine. You're suggesting there might be more systems like this one, more civilizations trapped in artificial isolation. It's possible. Think about it from humanity's perspective. We've been searching for other intelligent life for decades and found nothing. What if that's not because there's no life out there, but because someone doesn't want us to find it? The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this possibility. Looked out at the 7 civilizations, each one a bright beacon of intelligence and culture, each one alone and unaware of their neighbors. "Captain," James said quietly, "there's something else. The dampening fields aren't just keeping the civilizations separated from each other. They're also hiding them from the rest of the galaxy. No one passing through this region would detect their presence unless they came as close as we have." Nodded slowly. The picture was becoming clearer and more disturbing. Someone with advanced technology was collecting intelligent species and keeping them as isolated specimens, hidden from the galaxy at large. "The question is," Doctor said, "who's doing this and what do they want?" Stared at the display showing the 7 thriving civilizations, each one beautiful and unique, each one trapped without knowing it. "I think we need to find out, and I think we need to consider the possibility that whoever did this might not appreciate our discovery." As if summoned by her words, the ship's long-range sensors detected something approaching from the outer system. Something large, fast, and definitely artificial. "Captain," Lieutenant Park called out, his voice tight with tension, "we have incoming. Unknown vessel, massive energy signature approaching at high speed." Settled back into her command chair. "Red alert. All stations prepare for potential contact. It looks like we're about to meet whoever's responsible for this." The Endeavor prepared to face the unknown as the mysterious vessel closed in, and wondered if humanity was about to discover that they weren't just observers of galactic civilization, but potential targets for whoever was collecting and isolating intelligent species. The discovery of the 7 hidden civilizations had raised questions that would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. But as the unknown ship approached, realized they were about to get answers whether they wanted them or not. In the depths of space, surrounded by civilizations trapped in invisible cages, the UES Endeavor waited to learn the truth about the galaxy's most carefully guarded secret. The forgotten races continued their lives, unaware that their isolation was about to be challenged, and that their freedom might depend on a young species that had stumbled into a cosmic conspiracy beyond their imagination. The stars watched in silence as the next chapter of galactic history began to unfold. 6 months after first contact with Keeper, Captain stood on the observation deck of the Guardian Research Station Sanctuary, watching the most ambitious rescue operation in galactic history unfold. The station orbited a neutron star in an empty system, its exotic matter shields protecting it from the intense radiation while providing camouflage from hegemony sensors. Around her, Guardian and human technicians worked side by side, their combined expertise creating technologies that neither species could have developed alone. The integration had been remarkably smooth. Human innovation and adaptability complemented Guardian wisdom and advanced understanding of galactic technology in ways that surprised everyone involved. Doctor approached from the Central Research Lab, his face showing the exhaustion of months spent in constant development work. "We've had a breakthrough. The selective barrier destabilization process is ready for field testing." Turned from the viewport where she had been watching Guardian ships preparing for deployment. "You're certain it will work?" "As certain as we can be without live testing. The theory is sound. Instead of completely dropping the isolation barriers around the protected systems, we can create controlled gaps that allow specific types of communication and travel while maintaining protection from hegemony detection." Doctor activated a holographic display that showed the complex energy patterns surrounding one of the protected systems. "The barriers work by absorbing and redirecting all electromagnetic and subspace radiation. Our new technology creates selective permeability, like a membrane that allows certain signals through while blocking others." Studied the display, remembering the 7 forgotten races they had discovered so many months ago. "Which system do we start with?" "The Keepers want to begin with the Nexus cluster," Doctor replied. "It houses 12 different species across 8 star systems, all within 10 light-years of each other. If we can successfully introduce them to each other, it will prove the concept works on a large scale." Nodded, The Nexus cluster represented one of the Guardian Collective's most ambitious rescue operations. Over the past 5,000 years, they had relocated 12 different species threatened by hegemony expansion to neighboring star systems, each one isolated and protected but completely unaware of the others. "What's the timeline?" asked. "Phase 1 begins tomorrow. We'll open communication channels between the two most technologically compatible species, the resonance and the harmonics. Both use electromagnetic communication technologies that should be able to interface with minimal cultural shock." Followed Doctor toward the Central Command Center, where Guardian Keepers and human officers worked together coordinating the operation. The sight still amazed her. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy. Now they were partners in an alliance that spanned thousands of systems and millions of intelligent beings. Keeper stood at the central tactical display, its hybrid form somehow conveying both authority and profound concern. Around it, displays showed real-time feeds from dozens of protected systems, each one a testament to Guardian dedication to preserving galactic diversity. "Captain," said as approached, "are your people ready for tomorrow's operation?" Nodded. "The Endeavor and 3 other human vessels are in position around the Nexus cluster. Our communication specialists have been working with your technicians to ensure the first contact protocols are culturally appropriate for both species." "Good. Remember, this is not just about introducing 2 species to each other. This is about beginning the end of artificial isolation for thousands of civilizations. The psychological and cultural impact cannot be underestimated." Doctor joined the conversation. "We've run extensive simulations based on Guardian cultural databases. Both the resonance and harmonics have philosophical traditions that accept the possibility of other intelligent life. The shock should be manageable if we handle the introduction carefully." Looked at the displays showing the 2 species that would make galactic history tomorrow. The resonance were silicon-based beings who lived in vast crystal formations and communicated through harmonic frequencies that could travel through solid matter. Their cities were marvels of acoustic engineering, designed to amplify and channel sound in ways that created complex musical conversations. The harmonics were more traditionally biological, but had evolved natural bioelectromagnetic organs that allowed them to communicate through modulated electromagnetic fields. Their society had developed around the concept of resonance and harmony, creating art, music, and even government through electromagnetic consensus. Both species use concepts of harmony and resonance in their core philosophies, Doctor explained. When they discover they can literally harmonize with each other through their different communication methods, it should create an immediate foundation for friendship rather than fear. Keeper's expression grew more serious. "Remember, Captain, this is only the beginning. The hegemony has sensors throughout the galaxy. Our selective barriers will hide the communication channels from casual observation, but if they conduct a detailed scan of the Nexus cluster, they will discover what we're doing." Felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "How long do we have?" "Unknown. The hegemony conducts random sweeps of isolated space every few decades, searching for Guardian activities. Our last intelligence indicates they won't scan this region for at least 5 years, but intelligence can be wrong." The next morning, stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, positioned between the 2 star systems that housed the resonance and harmonics. Around her, human and Guardian technology worked in perfect synchronization to create the first intentional contact between protected species in Guardian history. "Barrier modulation is stable," reported Lieutenant Commander Park. "We're reading successful communication channel establishment between both systems." On the main screen, real-time displays showed the moment of contact from both species' perspectives. The resonant detection systems had identified artificial electromagnetic signals from the direction of the harmonic home system. Simultaneously, harmonic receivers had detected structured acoustic transmissions that could only come from intelligent sources. "Both species are responding," Lieutenant announced from the communications station. "Initial signals appear to be mathematical sequences. They're trying to establish common ground for communication." Watched the displays showing the first tentative exchanges between 2 civilizations. After thousands of years of isolation, the resonance and harmonics were reaching across the void to touch minds that were alien yet familiar. "Captain," Doctor called from his science station, We're receiving translation matrices from both species. They're trying to establish linguistic compatibility. The speed of adaptation is remarkable. For hours, and her crew watched as two ancient civilizations discovered they were not alone in the universe. The initial mathematical exchanges gave way to more complex communications as both species worked to overcome the barriers of different communication methods and languages. The resonants are transmitting their historical databases, Lieutenant reported. They're sharing their cultural development, their art, their philosophy. The harmonics are responding with their own cultural archives. Smiled as she watched the displays. Both species were approaching first contact with curiosity and joy rather than fear or suspicion. Their natural inclination toward harmony and cooperation was making the process smoother than even the most optimistic simulations had predicted. Captain, Keeper's voice came through the communication system from the sanctuary. We're receiving reports from both systems. The species leadership groups have established formal contact and are expressing interest in eventual physical meetings. Felt a surge of excitement. Physical meetings, they want to visit each other. More than that, replied. Both species are asking about the possibility of other intelligent life in the galaxy. The discovery that they're not alone has sparked curiosity about what other civilizations might exist. Doctor looked up from his station. Captain, this is unprecedented. In all Guardian experience, species making first contact typically need years or decades to adjust to the concept of other intelligence. The resonance and harmonics are ready to expand their horizons within hours. Nodded, understanding the implications. If the process worked this smoothly with other species, the Guardian Collective could begin introducing civilizations to each other at a much faster pace than originally planned. Phase 2 asked. Already in preparation, replied. We have 4 more species in the Nexus cluster who should be compatible with the resonance and harmonics. If we can establish a communication network among all 6 species within the next few months, we'll have created the first multi-species alliance of protected civilizations. Studied the tactical displays showing the positions of the other protected species in the cluster. The Weavers were master biotechnologists who had learned to create living technology. The builders specialized in massive construction projects that could reshape entire planets. The dancers had evolved in zero gravity and created art through movement and magnetic fields. The thinkers were a collective intelligence species that shared thoughts across their entire population. Each species has unique capabilities that could benefit all the others, Doctor observed. The Weavers could help the builders create self-repairing structures. The dancers could teach the others new forms of art and expression. The thinkers could provide philosophical frameworks for multi-species cooperation. Felt a growing sense of excitement. We're not just ending their isolation, we're creating something new, a voluntary alliance of equal civilizations working together by choice, not force. That is the Guardian vision, confirmed, and with humanity's help we're finally making it reality. Over the following weeks, the first interspecies alliance of protected civilizations began to take shape. The resonance and harmonics established regular communication schedules and began sharing technological and cultural innovations. The other 4 species in the cluster were gradually introduced to the growing network, each one bringing unique perspectives and capabilities. Found herself coordinating increasingly complex diplomatic and logistical operations as the 6 species began planning their first inter-system conference. The level of cooperation and enthusiasm was beyond anything the Guardians had dared hope for. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Park reported one morning, we're receiving a priority communication from Guardian intelligence. Hegemony movement detected in our general region. Felt her excitement evaporate, replaced by cold determination. Details. Long-range scouts, still several hundred light-years away. But they're conducting expanded sensor sweeps in a pattern that will eventually include the Nexus cluster. Activated the ship-wide communication system. This is the captain. All senior staff to the conference room immediately. As her crew assembled, realized that their greatest success might also become their greatest challenge. The Nexus Cluster Alliance was progressing faster and more successfully than anyone had predicted. But if the hegemony discovered what they were doing before the Alliance was strong enough to defend itself, they would all face destruction. The question, said as her staff settled around the conference table, is whether we accelerate the alliance-building process to create a stronger defensive position, or slow down to reduce our. Doctor spoke first. The species in the cluster are already asking about the broader galaxy. If we suddenly restrict their communications or delay introducing them to other species, they'll know something is wrong. Lieutenant Commander Park nodded. And if they lose trust in our protection, the entire alliance concept could collapse. Made her decision. We accelerate. We have other protected clusters within reasonable distance of Nexus. If we can link multiple clusters into a larger alliance network before the hegemony arrives, we might have enough combined strength to defend ourselves. She activated the communication link to Sanctuary. Keeper, we need to discuss expanding the awakening process to other clusters. The hegemony is coming, and we need allies. The response came immediately. Agreed, Captain, it's time to wake up the galaxy. Looked out at the stars surrounding the Nexus cluster, where 6 ancient civilizations were discovering the joy of cooperation and friendship after of enforced solitude. Soon, dozens more civilizations would join them. The forgotten races were about to become a force that could challenge the greatest empire in galactic history. The question was whether they could do it fast enough to survive what was coming. Admiral stood in the Grand Assembly Chamber aboard the massive space station Unity, watching representatives from 47 different species take their seats for the first Intercluster Defense Council meeting. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just 18 months ago when she had been a simple exploration captain discovering hidden civilizations. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built in just 8 months by the combined efforts of 12 different species. The builders had provided the structural framework, the weavers had created living support systems, the metallics had manufactured the technological components, and the architects had designed spaces that could accommodate the wildly diverse physiological needs of dozens of different species. Its own transformation from captain to admiral reflected the rapid evolution of human involvement in galactic affairs. As the awakening process had accelerated across multiple protected clusters, humanity had become the primary coordinators and communicators between species that had never imagined such diversity was possible. Admiral, Commander James Park said quietly, approaching from the human delegations section, final count is complete. We have representatives from 47 species across 12 cluster systems. Total population represented is approximately 3.2 billion intelligent beings. Nodded, still amazed by the numbers. Each of the cluster systems housed between 3 and 8 different species, all of whom had been living in isolation until the awakening process began. The speed with which they had embraced interspecies cooperation had surprised even the most optimistic Guardian projections. Any word from Guardian intelligence on hegemony movement? Asked. Yes, ma'am. Long-range sensors indicate the hegemony scout fleet is approximately 6 months away from reaching the outer edge of our territory. 18 ships, including at least 3 capital vessels. Felt the familiar knot of tension in her stomach. The alliance was growing stronger every day, but they were racing against time. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years, and they had not maintained that dominance by tolerating challenges to their authority. Keeper approached from the Guardian delegation, its hybrid form moving gracefully despite the chamber's mixed atmospheric conditions. Admiral, all delegations are ready to begin. The formal session is about to commence. Straightened her uniform and walked to the central podium. Around her, representatives from species that ranged from crystalline entities to energy-based beings to traditional biological forms watched with attention that crossed all species boundaries. Honored representatives, began, her voice automatically translated into 47 different languages and communication methods. We gather here not as separate species, but as neighbors who have discovered we share the galaxy with friends we never knew existed. A harmonic resonance filled the chamber as the resonant delegation expressed approval, immediately joined by electromagnetic pulses from the harmonics and bioluminescent patterns from the luminous. Within seconds, every species in the chamber was contributing to a complex multimodal expression of unity that would have been impossible without months of cultural exchange and adaptation. 18 months ago, continued, each of our species believed we were alone in the universe. Today, we know that we are part of a community that spans hundreds of star systems and includes billions of intelligent beings. but we also know that our community faces a threat. The chamber grew quiet as activated the holographic display showing current hegemony movements throughout the galaxy. The scale of the empire was staggering. Thousands of star systems under direct control, millions of client species serving the founding races, military fleets that numbered in the tens of thousands. The galactic hegemony has maintained control over this galaxy for 50 through a simple strategy: divide and conquer. They prevent species from communicating with each other, making alliances, or sharing technologies. They keep civilizations isolated and dependent on hegemony approval for advancement or even survival. Ambassador of the Crystalline Delegation spoke, its words transmitted through harmonic vibrations in the chamber's resonance network. The humans and guardians have shown us that cooperation creates strength beyond what any single species can achieve alone. What do we do with this knowledge? Smiled, the question went to the heart of their situation. We prove that cooperation is stronger than domination. We demonstrate that free alliance is more powerful than forced submission. We show the galaxy that there's an alternative to hegemony rule. Commander of the raised one of its flexible appendages. Our military capabilities are limited. Most of our species were chosen for preservation precisely because we were not considered threats to hegemony dominance. How do we defend ourselves against an empire that has conquered the galaxy? Doctor, now serving as chief advisor on interspecies relations, stood to respond. By doing what the hegemony can't predict or counter, combining our different capabilities into something entirely new. He activated a different display showing technological innovations that had emerged from interspecies cooperation. In the past 8 months, our combined research has produced advances that none of our species could have achieved independently. The Weaver's biotechnology enhanced by metallic manufacturing precision, builder construction techniques guided by architect planning, and enhanced with crystalline structural materials. Harmonic communication networks amplified by resonant acoustic engineering. Watch the representatives absorb this information. Each species had contributed something unique to the alliance, and the result was technological capabilities that were advancing at unprecedented rates. The hegemony's greatest weakness, continued, is that they prevent exactly this kind of cooperation. Their client species are kept separated and specialized. They've never faced an opponent with access to truly integrated multi-species technology and tactics. Ambassador N of the Builders spoke through its delegation's translation matrix. What do you propose, Admiral? Took a deep breath. I propose we offer the galaxy a choice. When the hegemony arrives, we don't hide or run. We meet them openly and show them what free cooperation has achieved. We offer their client species the opportunity to join us as equals rather than servants. The chamber erupted in multiple forms of discussion as each delegation debated among themselves in their native communication methods. Waited, knowing that this decision had to be unanimous. If even one species chose to withdraw from the alliance out of fear, the entire structure could collapse. Keeper moved to stand beside. Admiral, this is beyond anything the Guardian Collective has attempted before. For 10,000 years, we've preserved species through hiding and protection. You're proposing we reveal ourselves and challenge the hegemony directly. Because hiding isn't freedom, replied. These species have spent months discovering the joy of friendship and cooperation with other intelligent beings. They've created art together, solved scientific problems together, even started families together in some cases. Are we going to ask them to give that up and return to isolation for the sake of safety? Its ancient eyes studied the assembly chamber. Look at them, it said quietly. 3 months ago, the concept of different species working together was theoretical. Now they're debating military strategy and political philosophy as a unified community. Your species has accomplished something remarkable, Admiral. Followed's gaze around the chamber. Despite the diversity of forms and communication methods, there was a sense of unity that transcended species boundaries. The representatives weren't just talking to their own delegations. They were engaging in cross-species discussions, seeking input from species with different perspectives and capabilities. Finally, Ambassador rose to speak for the Assembly. We have reached consensus. The Alliance stands united. We will meet the hegemony openly and offer the galaxy a demonstration of what cooperation can achieve. Felt a surge of pride and terror in equal measure. Then we need to prepare. Military preparation, yes, but more importantly, we need to be ready to show the hegemony and their client species exactly what we've built here. Over the following weeks, the Unity Station became the hub of the most intensive preparation effort in recorded galactic history. Species that had never fought wars began developing defensive strategies. Civilizations that had focused on art and philosophy started manufacturing weapons and shields. The builders constructed new types of fortified installations, while the weavers created biological armor systems that could adapt to multiple species' physiologies. But the most important preparations were diplomatic. Worked with representatives from all 47 species to develop a comprehensive offer for hegemony client species. Full membership in the Alliance, access to all shared technologies, and the right to govern themselves according to their own cultures and values. It's a good offer, Doctor said during one of their strategy sessions. The question is whether any client species will be brave enough to accept it. Studied the latest intelligence reports from Guardian Scouts. The hegemony has been experiencing increased unrest among client species in recent years. Heavy taxation to fund military expansion, forced relocation of populations to support hegemony industrial projects, cultural suppression policies. If we can demonstrate that there's a viable alternative, some of them might be willing to take the risk. Commander Park joined the conversation from the tactical station. Military analysis is complete. We have defensive capabilities that should give us parity with the incoming hegemony force, assuming our integrated technologies work as well in combat as they have in simulations. Nodded, the Alliance's military strength came not from superior numbers or raw firepower, but from unprecedented cooperation. Ships crewed by multiple species, weapons systems that combined different technological approaches, defensive networks that could adapt to any threat through real-time interspecies coordination. Time frame asked. 3 weeks until the hegemony fleet reaches our outer perimeter, Park replied. All Alliance forces will be in position within 10 days. Activated the Chamber's communication system. All delegations, prepare your species for what's coming. In 3 weeks, we'll either demonstrate that the galaxy has a future beyond hegemony domination, or we'll face destruction together. Either way, we face it as allies. As the representatives dispersed to their home systems to prepare their people, remained in the chamber, looking out at the stars where 47 different species were getting ready to challenge a 50,000-year-old empire. Keeper approached one final time. Admiral, whatever happens, the Guardian Collective wants you to know that humanity has given the galaxy something it thought it had lost forever. Hope. Smiled grimly. Hope isn't enough anymore, Keeper. It's time for action. In the depths of space, the hegemony fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were about to encounter something that had never existed before in galactic history. A truly voluntary alliance of equals, led by a young species that refused to accept that tyranny was the natural order of the universe. The forgotten races were about to remind the galaxy that they had never chosen to be forgotten. And humanity was about to prove that sometimes the voice in galactic affairs could be the one that changed everything. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Harmony, watching the hegemony fleet drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus cluster. 18 massive vessels arranged in perfect military formation, their hulls gleaming with the authority of 50,000 years of unchallenged dominance. Each ship was larger than anything the Alliance had constructed, packed with weapons that could sterilize entire planets. Around her, the bridge crew represented 12 different species working in perfect coordination. Commander Park handled tactical coordination while communicating with resonant harmonic analysts. Lieutenant managed communications through a network that included harmonic electromagnetic specialists and crystalline data processing matrices. Doctor coordinated scientific analysis with representatives from 6 different species research teams. Admiral, Park reported, hegemony fleet is maintaining position at the system's edge. No immediate aggressive movements, but they're conducting extensive scanning operations. Nodded, they're trying to understand what they're looking at. Probably the first time they've encountered genuine multi-species cooperation rather than forced client relationships. The Alliance fleet spread throughout the Nexus cluster was unlike anything in galactic military history. Instead of uniform vessels from a single species, the defensive force consisted of ships that blended technologies from dozens of different civilizations. Builder-constructed hulls incorporated crystalline structural materials and Weaver biological systems. Metallic manufacturing precision had been combined with architect design principles to create vessels that were both beautiful and devastatingly effective. Incoming transmission from the Hegemony fleet, Lieutenant announced. Standard diplomatic frequency but highly encrypted. Put it through, commanded. The main screen shimmered and revealed a being that represented everything had come to despise about galactic politics. Tall, elegant, clearly from one of the founding Hegemony species, wearing robes that indicated supreme authority. Its expression combined arrogance with barely contained hostility. I am Supreme Admiral Hex of the Galactic Hegemony Fleet Command. You will identify yourself and explain your presence in this restricted sector. Straightened her shoulders. I am Admiral of the Free Alliance of Species. This is not restricted space, Supreme Admiral. This is the sovereign territory of 47 allied civilizations. Hex's expression shifted to confusion, then contempt. 47 species? Impossible. Our records show this region contains only scattered remnants of failed civilizations under Guardian protection. There are no significant military forces in this sector. Your records are outdated, replied calmly. The species you dismissed as failures have chosen to unite in cooperative alliance. We represent over 3 billion intelligent beings from 12 different star systems. Activated the Alliance's demonstration protocol. Around the Nexus cluster, defensive installations that had been hidden from casual observation began revealing themselves. Massive space habitats created by builder-architect cooperation emerged from behind asteroid shields. Crystalline defensive matrices that could focus stellar energy into weapon arrays became visible as their camouflage fields dropped. Weaver biological ships that had been masquerading as space debris unfolded into their true configurations. What you're seeing, continued as Hex stared at the displays, is what free cooperation can achieve. Every species in our alliance contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. No one rules over anyone else. Hex recovered his composure quickly. Impressive theater, Admiral, but you cannot seriously believe that a collection of primitive species can challenge the authority of the galactic hegemony. We have ruled this galaxy for 50. Because you've prevented species from working together, replied. You've kept civilizations isolated, dependent, and weak, but isolation ends today. Activated the next phase of their plan. Throughout hegemony space, concealed Guardian communication networks began broadcasting a signal that had been crafted by the finest diplomatic and linguistic experts from all 47 Alliance species. Citizens of the galaxy, its voice reached thousands of star systems simultaneously. You are not alone, for you have been told that the hegemony is the only path to galactic civilization. Today, we offer you an alternative. The signal included holographic demonstrations of Alliance technology, art, and social structures. Species that had lived under hegemony control for thousands of years saw, for the first time, examples of truly cooperative civilization where different beings worked together as equals. On the hegemony flagship, Hex's face had gone pale. Impossible. Our communication security is impenetrable. No one can broadcast directly to our client systems. The Guardian Collective has been studying your technology for 10,000 years, replied. And now they have partners with fresh perspectives and innovative approaches. Your security has holes you never knew existed. Watch the tactical displays as the first responses began coming in from hegemony territory. Several client species were requesting more information about the Alliance. Others were asking for asylum or protection if they chose to break away from hegemony control. Supreme Admiral said, I'm going to make you an offer. The Alliance is not interested in conquest or domination. We're offering the galaxy a choice. Your client species can remain under hegemony control if they choose. But if they want to join a cooperative alliance where they govern themselves and contribute as equals, we welcome them. Hex's expression had moved beyond anger into something approaching panic. You're talking about the collapse of galactic civilization. The hegemony provides order, stability, protection from chaos. The hegemony provides tyranny disguised as order, corrected. True stability comes from cooperation, not coercion. The communication was interrupted by urgent reports from multiple sources. Throughout hegemony territory, Client species were responding to the Alliance broadcast with unprecedented enthusiasm. Several systems had already declared independence and were requesting Alliance protection. Others were demanding hegemony representatives explain why they had been kept ignorant of the possibility of cooperative civilization. Admiral, Park reported quietly, Guardian intelligence is detecting massive military movements throughout hegemony space. They're mobilizing everything they have. Had expected this. How long until major fleet elements arrive? 3 to 6 months, depending on which forces they deploy. But Admiral, we're looking at potential military action across hundreds of star systems if this escalates. Made her decision. Supreme Admiral Hex, I'm going to demonstrate something that your empire has never seen, the power of voluntary cooperation. Throughout the Nexus cluster, the Alliance fleet began a complex maneuver that showcased the capabilities of true multi-species integration. Ships that had been built by one species, but upgraded by 3 others performed coordination exercises that required real-time communication across completely different technological and biological systems. Builder engineering vessels worked with crystalline energy-focusing platforms to create impromptu defensive arrays that could protect entire planets. Harmonic communication ships established network links that allowed resonant sound-based coordination with luminous light-based signaling. Metallic manufacturing platforms cooperated with Weaver biological systems to produce new defensive technologies in real time. What you're watching, explained as Hex stared at the displays, is 47 different species working together because they choose to, not because they're forced to. Every innovation you see comes from combining different approaches to the same problems. Every tactical success comes from beings who trust each other enough to coordinate without coercion. The demonstration reached its climax as the entire Alliance fleet performed a coordinated jump to hyperspace and back, reappearing in a perfect defensive formation that surrounded the hegemony vessels without threatening them. The precision required for such a maneuver across multiple species technologies was theoretically impossible according to all existing military doctrine. How, Hex demanded. Trust, replied simply. When beings know their equals working toward common goals, they can achieve things that subjects serving masters never could. Activated a new communication channel that reached directly to the crews of the hegemony vessels. Citizens serving aboard these ships, you've just witnessed what cooperation can achieve. Your commanders will tell you that the Alliance is a threat to galactic stability. We tell you that we're an opportunity for galactic freedom. The choice is yours. The response was immediate. Several hegemony ships reported internal communication failures as crew members began discussing what they had witnessed. Others experienced equipment malfunctions that were clearly acts of sabotage by crew members unwilling to fight against the possibility of freedom. Hex's command ship found itself increasingly isolated as his own fleet began to fracture. This is mutiny. This is rebellion against the natural order. No, replied. This is evolution. The galaxy is growing beyond the need for masters and subjects. We're offering partnership instead of domination, cooperation instead of coercion, freedom instead of control. One by one, ships from the hegemony fleet began requesting permission to approach Alliance vessels for diplomatic discussions. Their crews wanted to learn more about the possibility of cooperative civilization. Some requested asylum for themselves and their families. Others asked for Alliance protection if they chose to break away from hegemony service. Within hours, Hex found himself commanding fewer than half of his original fleet. The remainder had either joined the Alliance temporarily or declared neutrality while they considered their options. Supreme Admiral said, "Return to hegemony space. Tell your leadership that the age of forced domination is ending. The galaxy has seen that there's an alternative and they're choosing freedom." Hex's image flickered with rage. "This isn't over, Admiral. The hegemony has military resources you can't imagine. We will not allow the collapse of galactic order." "The galaxy doesn't need order imposed from above," replied. "It needs cooperation chosen from within. We'll be here when you're ready to discuss a peaceful transition to a truly free galactic community." The communication ended as Hex's remaining ships jumped back to hyperspace, leaving behind a galaxy that had been fundamentally changed in the course of a single day. "Admiral," Doctor said quietly, "we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. 17 star systems have declared independence from hegemony control. Another 43 are demanding negotiations for greater autonomy, and over 200 systems are requesting detailed information about alliance membership. Looked out at the stars, each one representing the possibility of species that could join the growing alliance of free civilizations. How long until we're no longer the forgotten races, but the foundation of galactic civilization? Keeper's voice came through the communication system from the Guardian fleet. Admiral, the Guardian Collective has monitored the hegemony's internal communications. They're mobilizing for total war rather than accepting the loss of control. This victory is only the beginning. Nodded, she had known this moment would come. Then we'd better make sure every species that chooses freedom has the protection they need. Signal all Alliance worlds, begin full military production, and send a message to every independent system in the galaxy. The age of galactic tyranny is ending. The age of galactic freedom has begun. Around the Nexus cluster, the Alliance fleet prepared for the greater war to come. But they prepared as something the galaxy had never seen before. A truly voluntary community of equals, united not by conquest or coercion, but by the simple belief that all intelligent beings deserved the right to determine their own destiny. The forgotten races had become the remembered allies, and under humanity's guidance, they were about to teach the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than domination, that trust was more powerful than fear, and that freedom was worth fighting for. In the depths of space, the next chapter of galactic history was about to begin. And for the first time in 50,000 years, it would be written by free beings choosing to work together, rather than subjects obeying their masters.